how is Europe through Funding Box or other government accelerators promoting like globalization as well?
I've got news for you, Kyle, and that is that Korea will be most likely by the early 2024. So
next year?
Yeah, before spring next year, end of winter, most likely finishing the formal negotiations to join Horizoneurope.
Okay,
So South Korea will be like Poland, like Italy, like Spain, like Denmark, like Portugal, any member states that can also receive these funds.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about Horizoneurope. Like, what is this?
Yeah. So actually, very few people know this, but Europe has the largest research and development funding program in the world.
Okay. How much is it?
It's called Horizoneurope, and it has 95.5 billion.
Okay.
Billions.
Right.
Billion from Busan.
Okay.
B from Busan.
Okay.
Euros over the 7 years period.
Okay.
Okay.
That's huge.
That's huge. That is huge indeed.
Yeah.
And in the form of cascade funding, which is this equity-free funding that we've been talking, the money cascades from the European Commission to platforms like Funding Box and from our platforms to the startups. So that's why it's called cascade.
Right.
Not less than 200-300 million euros every year to be available for that. That doesn't mean you can also not obtain money through other sources, but let's focus on this. So it is the largest research and development funding program in the world, but it's not only for research excellence. That's the latest, even the better news. If you're a deep tech startup and you also are engaged with basic or applied research, then your chances increase. But if you're innovating in the fields that we said and delivering a better technology and a better experience to the market, you can also apply for this. You don't only have to be collaborating with a professor in a university and academia. It could be a standalone startup product company that is taking a bit of technology that is still not got into the market and making sure it gets to the market with a better experience and use case for the final users. So that also applies.
Okay. But so Horizoneurope, the 95 billion euro fund over the course of 7 years. I understand that's relevant to, the fund itself is Horizoneurope. So that is excellent news and like very prosperous and promising for the European companies and European startups. But how and why is that relevant? And you mentioned a little bit like about the good news about Korea, but how does that work actually? Like,
when President Yoon and President von der Leyen came back from the G7 in Fukushima, they stopped in Seoul.
When was this? Like a couple of months ago,
This was in May.
Oh, in May, right?
On 22nd of May, they stopped in Seoul and signed an agreement for South Korea to join Horizoneurope.
Okay.
But that needs to be negotiated in detail.
Of course, yes.
Korea will have to put a bit of money
to join the fund. Obviously, you have to put money to get money back
to the overall bucket.
Right.
And Korean companies, small, medium, but also large companies and large universities, and you have world leading in those both categories, can also obtain money back.
Are any other countries besides European countries in this pot, in this fund?
Yeah. So the 27 member states are clearly part of that.
Obviously.
Then there's a group of associated states that used to be only limited to our neighboring countries. So Iceland, Ukraine in some cases, Israel. Yes, Israel. Oh. But now Europe is enlarging this to whoever shares our liberal democratic values.
Sure.
Canada is finalizing the negotiation.
Okay.
New Zealand did earlier this year.
Okay.
South Korea started them in May.
Maybe Japan.
Probably Japan. Be the next one.
Yes.
So and it's not only those countries in the world that share our liberal values, democratic values, but very specific. South Korea is part of is leading part of the Indo-Pacific region, a region that needs to find their part in the world, with the China and India as big powers, north and south of them.
Yes.
And that provides exactly the balance and the alliances that Europe has decided it needs in a very, very challenging world where specifically Europe has outsourced their manufacturing to China. Outsource the energy to Russia, outsource the technology to the US companies,
military,
and outsource our military to NATO. So we are in a bit of a messy situation in Europe, and we've decided we need to be more autonomous. And we call this strategic autonomy. And since we are Europeans, we want to make it open. So we call it open strategic autonomy. That means we invite in the Canadians and the Japanese and the South Koreans and the New Zealanders, hopefully one day the Indians also, to help us be more autonomous by helping each other be more autonomous.
So it is.
Let's not confuse autonomy or strategic autonomy with protectionism, which it might lead at some point. Is about the ability of letting each country become more independent.
That's true.
Not only European countries become more independent.
It's a give and take. Of
course.
So in other words, it's in the best interest for the European Union as a union to have more partners, basically, international partners, besides from the 27 member states, basically, right?
It's not only an interest, it's a need. I would say it's a desperate need. Europe needs to find its place in the world with a world that is more and more China, US, relatively upcoming or already there, Cold War 2.0. And Europe needs to find their place there.
Right.
And the good thing about Europeans is we've already learned about how achieving peace by being a union and by focusing that union in the single market and the joint innovation. And that is Horizoneurope.
Right.
And we want to make that playground the field where we also redefine the relationship between the European Union and South Korea. And that would be through your great universities, your great corporations, and your great founders.
Okay.